Hello and welcome to Lore of the Cards, the series that looks to find the lore hidden in your Hearthstone deck. Today, we return to the League of Explorers adventure and take a look at Troggzor the Earthinator. Okay, so Troggzor's a GVG card, but in the Alderman wing of League of Explorers, we've seen many Trogs rear their ugly heads, and Shaman are able to get their hands on the Tunnel Trog. So, let's uncover the lore behind the race, and while we're here, we may as well cover the meanest Trog in Hearthstone, Troggzor the Earthinator. The art of the card is by Mike Sass, an artist covered before in our Angry Chicken episode. The ex-BioWare artist has seen the use of his art increase with each subsequent expansion in Hearthstone, animated armour being the most recent example. Sass also produced the art for two of the bosses in the Blackrock Mountain adventure too, the Blind Dragon Atramedes and the ale-swilling Korin Diabrew. Long ago, only elementals thrived upon the surface of Azeroth, a planet that will one day become an almighty titan. Then, four bloated masses of flesh from the dark beyond slammed into the planet. The old gods, horrific beings, took root within the world and sought to corrupt the sleeping world soul so that it may serve their masters, the Void Lords. It was not long before they had gained dominance of the world's surface. The corruption of the world soul imminent, it was discovered by the titans that had already awoken, and the great beings acted quickly to save their nearly lost sibling. The titan Agramar formulated a plan. The titans themselves would not attack the old gods directly. Their power risked damaging or perhaps even killing the world soul. Instead, they would craft an army. The Titan Forged, crafted from the very crust of Azeroth itself, fought long and hard and eventually won out over the old gods. Three of the beasts have been imprisoned after the death of the mightiest old god Yasharaj at the hand of the Titan Aman'Thul had caused great damage to Azeroth. Yasharaj's tendrils had burrowed so deep within the surface that when the old god was wrenched from the ground, it tore a huge hole in the world, causing the arcane lifeblood of the world soul to spew from this terrible wound. One of the Titan Forged's top priorities after the imprisonment of the remaining old gods was to staunch the wound's bleeding. Some Titan Forged, known as Keepers, have been empowered with a portion of the Titan's strength. To aid the world soul's recovery from the trauma wrought by the war, the two Keepers Arcadus and Mimiron constructed a pair of devices, the World Forges. The Forge of Wills was embedded in the roof of the world and would help shape the world soul's forming consciousness. The Forge of Origination was to help reinforce the world soul's physical form. The Forge of Wills had another purpose. It allowed the Watchers to create their own Titan Forge, just as they had been shaped themselves. The Forge drew upon the world soul's life force, allowing the Watchers to create sentient beings from metal and stone. The Watchers needed to reorder Azeroth after their calamitous war with the old gods, and they would need all the help they could get. When the Watchers first began to create more Titan Forged, their ambition got the better of them. Wanting to create a truly exemplary life form, they overcomplicated their process. This was the birth of the very first Trog. The stony Trogs were not the perfect servants the Watchers intended, but primitive brutes that communicated through strength and savagery. Quickly realising their mistake, the Watchers refined their process, giving life to the Earthen. Knowing the Trogs were the very antithesis of the order they sought to create, the Watchers knew they should destroy their misbegotten prototypes. But they found they were unable to bring themselves to eradicate the first race they had ever created, giving in to sentimentality. The Trogs could not be allowed to roam free, as they would bring chaos to Azeroth. Instead, the giantess Irenaia created the vast underground vault, Alderman. Within its halls, the Trogs were to be placed in stasis, and left there for all eternity. Some of the restless Trogs would not remain dormant for long. Shaking off their imposed stasis, these Trogs escaped Alderman. Many would wander the Watcher's newly ordered world, and some would even make their way to the elemental plane of Holm, approximately 15,000 years ago. One of the Trogs to make the journey was Troggzor. Holm acted as a prison realm for the earth elementals created by the Watchers. Many thousands of years later, the realm was used by the insidious Deathwing to recover after a crushing defeat. After making a full recovery, becoming yet more powerful, Deathwing sought to wreak his horrible vengeance upon Azeroth. The monolithic dragon flew full pelt at the barrier between the plane of Deepholm and Azeroth. The force created by the dragon smashing through caused irreparable damage to Azeroth and marked the beginning of the Cataclysm expansion in World of Warcraft. Not only had Deathwing broken the barrier, but upon his exit the dragon had also shattered the World Pillar. Without this pillar, the realm of Deepholm would collapse in on Azeroth. Acting quickly, the Shaman of the Earthen Ring, led by Thrall, made their way to the Maelstrom, which allowed access to Deepholm. Here, many of the world's most powerful Shaman did all they could to slow the collision of Azeroth and Deepholm, while adventurers travelled to the realm of Earth to repair the World Pillar. It was not only Trogs that had made their way to Deepholm. A few Earthen had as well. Since discovering each other, the two races had been locked in a never-ending war. At the point of the arrival of the heroes from Azeroth, the Trogs had gained the upper hand, kidnapping the Earthen leader Stonefather Ormantle and threatening to kill him unless the Earthen surrendered. However, the Earthen had managed to salvage one of the 3 shattered pieces of the World Pillar, which would prove to be their salvation. Flint, the son of the Stonefather, set out on a journey toward the Temple of Earth, which housed the World Pillar and the temporary base of operations for the Earthen Ring. Flint came with a proposal, the Earth Pillar fragment, for the rescue of his father, who was the only one that could gain access to the fragment. While on his journey, Flint was set upon by rock flayers that left the mortally wounded Earthen for dead. Luckily for Flint, he was discovered by the Shaman Initiate Goldmine. With aid from a hero, Goldmine was able to create a compound to seal the Earthen's wounds and return him to health. Upon hearing Flint's offer, the same hero that saved the Earthen's life travelled to aid his people. Upon arriving in Stonehearth, the Earthen's home, the companions found the village under attack from Troggs. Not only this, the servants of the Stone Mother Therazane readied themselves to attack the Earthen to claim the World Pillar fragment for themselves. After dealing with Therazane's impending assault, the hero returned to fend off the Trog attack within the village. With Stonehearth safe, the Earthen began to push back against the Trogs in order to save their leader deep within Trog territory. The Earthen immediately hit an obstacle. Waves and waves of Trogs under the command of the battle leader, Troggzor the Earthenator. The Earthen did not shy away from the challenge, taking Troggzor's forces head on, while the hero sent to help them made their way through the Trog lines. The adventurer and Troggzor did battle, and the Trog met his end. To prove the death of the ravenous Troggzor, the hero presented the beast's cudgel to Gravel Longslab, who had tasked the hero with exterminating Troggzor. Troggzor the Earthenator's name is a reference to the Burninator, an animated short created by Homestar Runner. Troggzor's ability in-game seems to represent his battle leader status, summoning more and more Trogs to the battlefield, the more spells to the cast. After the death of Troggzor, the Earthen continued to push further and further into Trog territory, making good headway in fighting their way to Ormantle. As soon as the Earthen discovered the Stonefather's location, his son Flint ran off alone to save him. Flint's rash action had put his life in grave peril, as Ormantle was guarded by the chieftain of the Stone Trogs, Bouldergut. Upon hearing where Flint had run off to, the hero aiding the Earthen ran to help him and arrived not a moment too soon, as Bouldergut had the upper hand in the fight with Flint. The hero once again proved to be stronger than the Trog, and was successful in saving both Flint and Ormantle. Upon returning to Stonehearth, Ormantle presented the hero with the key to his home, where the World Pillar fragment was kept. Grateful to the Earthen, the hero brought the World Pillar fragment back to the Temple of Earth. After many more trials and tribulations, the Earthen Ring were able to restore the World Pillar. The Trogs that remained on Azeroth were met with a different fate to those that had travelled to Deepholm. While the old gods had been imprisoned, they did not sit idly by. They tried to escape their confines. Yogg-Saron thought even further ahead. The god created a disease which would come to be called the Curse of Flesh. The curse was designed to transform the Watcher's Titanforged creations from beings of earth and metal to ones of flesh. This meant that when the old gods broke free, they would not have to combat hardened Titanforged, but soft and delicate beings that could easily be ripped limb from limb. It has also been thought that beings of flesh are more susceptible to the old gods' maddening whispers that could lead them down the path of corruption. Yogg-Saron was able to infect the Forge of Wills with his curse, meaning that all Titanforge created from that point on would harbour the sickness. The degradation took many years and was contagious. It would appear a large quantity of Trogs became infected when the Watcher Arcadus led many harbouring the curse of flesh to Alderman. Arcadus and his followers spent many years in Alderman, the Watcher desperately trying to find a cure for the curse of flesh, to no avail. Over thousands of years, Arcadus' followers were consumed by the curse, becoming the gnomes and dwarves of today. These confused beings would come to forget their Titan heritage as they struggled to survive in an ever harsher world. Some Trogs escaped Alderman before the dwarves and gnomes left the vault, as they were discovered by the Mogu when their empire was at its height, some 15 to 12,000 years ago. The primitive Trogs were discovered by Emperor Tian, who was in need of messengers for his empire. Using the potent liquid anima, the Mogu painfully reshaped the flesh and bone of the Trogs they had discovered to make them better suited to their task. The flesh shaping spawned the Grummels, small but durable and strong messengers that could carry 5 times their own weight. Most of the Trog population remained hidden for thousands of years, either in stasis or living out their lives beneath the earth. Trogs had never been beautiful creatures, but the curse of flesh had emphasised many of their more grotesque features. Cold, pupilless eyes, a mouth unable to close due to exposed gums and yellowed teeth, and shaggy, matted manes. The curse had further distorted the Trogs, giving the beasts swollen sores and boils dotted over their skin. Of course, these may be symptoms of the Trogs' boorish lifestyle and poor personal hygiene. The Neanderthal-like Trogs formed a primitive society. Those with the greatest physical strength ruled. While the curse of flesh had weakened the Trogs' bodies, they were still remarkably strong given their squat stature, able to crush bones and pulverise skulls using primitive clubs and bones for weapons. It is stated in the non-canon Warcraft RPG that Trogs survive on a diet of plants, raw meat, rocks and dirt. The crushed earth is said to help the Trogs digest their food, and a small portion is allegedly absorbed into the Trogs' body, making them stronger and tougher. To this day, the Trogs are unintelligent beings, possessing no real understanding for technology or magic, and only communicating with each other through guttural grunts and growls. It is suspected that many Trogs in Hearthstone gain attack power when magic is used, as it is a power they do not understand, enraging them, though some Trogs are able to practice basic shamanistic magic. However, during the Third War, which makes up the story of Warcraft 3, the Trogs showed themselves to be cunning and a force to be reckoned with. While the Gnomes had assisted the Alliance in the Second War with the Orcs, they were strangely absent from this war. The Gnomes' brilliant machinery still played a role within the conflict, but they were manned by dwarven crews. Unbeknownst to their allies, the Gnomes have found themselves in a brutal conflict with the Trogs, which threatened to push the race out of their capital city of Gnomeregan. Both the Gnomes and Dwarves have been tunnelling into the mountains of Dunmarroch for many years. Unfortunately for the Gnomes, it was their digging that first uncovered the Trogs. Seemingly out of nowhere, the Trogs swarmed into the lower levels of the Gnome capital, taking the Gnomes by surprise and forcing them into a retreat. While the Gnomes were at risk, they did not concern their allies with their plight, who had more important work stopping the Burning Legion from subjugating Azeroth. Unable to recover from the Trogs' surprise attack, the Gnomes reverted to desperate measures. The mech-engineer Sicko Thermoplug came to the Gnomish leader, Gelbin Mekatork, with a plan to flood the lower levels of Gnomeregan with poison gas, killing the Trogs. Mekatork agreed to the plan, being provided with convincing data from Sicko that the gas would destroy the Trogs. Thermoplug had deceived Gelbin, falsifying his data. Sicko sought to make Mekatork look stupid and inept. With the people against Mekatork, Sicko would sweep in and claim his position of High Tinker, but Thermoplug had misjudged the potency of the gas. Not only did it end up wiping out nearly 80% of the Gnomish population or transforming them into leper gnomes, the gas in fact empowered the Trogs, filling them with unbridled rage. Sicko himself was caught within the gas. He became a ruler, but ruler of the broken leper gnomes. The surviving gnomes had no choice but to abandon their now inhospitable capital to the Trogs and Thermoplug. Some suspect that Thermoplug may have even orchestrated the initial Trog invasion. He was certainly able to work with the Trogs, later using them in an attempt to kill Gelbin. In an event just prior to the Cataclysm expansion, Mekkatorque would return to Gnomeregan, backed by the Alliance, and claim back some of the upper portions of the gnome capital, though the lower levels remain under Trog and leper gnome control. The dwarves would also later dig too far, uncovering the Rockjaw tribe of Trog. While this did not have the calamitous results of the Gnomeregan discovery, the Trogs became a nuisance in the region of Dunmaroch, even more so after the Cataclysm. The Trogs blamed the earthquakes created by Deathwing's re-entry on the dwarves, and now infest Dunmaroch, attacking any dwarf or gnome on sight. These are some of the main events in the Warcraft universe the Trogs have seen themselves involved with, but the creatures can be found all over Azeroth. Some still reside in Alderman, which we covered quite recently on the channel. The Ragefire tribe once dwelled in the Ragefire Chasm, beneath the Orcish capital of Orgrimmar, but were completely wiped out when evil Dark Shaman claimed the caverns for their own. The Stonesplinter tribe have become a thorn in the side of the dwarves of Loch Modan. Other races have even seen themselves transformed into Trogs. The Ogre Mage Warosh was a member of the Spirestone clan who reside in Blackrock Spire, that challenged the clan's leader, Urok Doomhowl. Doomhowl defeated Warok and turned him into a Trog. Warok is always pleased when adventurers slay Doomhowl. Feegly the Exiled was once a dwarven digger that resided in Baal Modan, touted as one of the fastest diggers within the dig site. When Feegly discovered the jewel called the Tear of Moons, he became obsessed with it, and the power of the jewel warped his body and drove him mad, transforming him into a Trog. Likely a reference to Gollum from the Lord of the Rings trilogy. So, there you have it, the lore behind Troggzor and the Trog race. These little buggers tend to get everywhere, so I doubt it's the last time we'll talk about them on Lore of the Cards. If you have enjoyed the art, all the artists I was able to find can be found in the description below. I really hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, why not help 6 summon more burly Rockjaw Trogs to the channel by hitting the like button, subscribing and sharing this video with your friends. Of course, if you want to enrage me and add to my attack value, you can always hit the dislike button. But I warn you, I'm going face. To keep up to date with Lore of the Cards, you can follow us at The6Gamers on Twitter or like us on Facebook /6GamersUK. Next time, we'll be doing a Whispers of the Old God card. Any suggestions? Until then, happy Hearthstoning.